Kurt had a house. That's where this starts. I'm Tiffany. I'm 26. I process benefits for a mid-sized company. And I was dating a mechanic who owned his own place, had 2 cars in his garage, a dog he treated better than most people treat their kids, and a hairline that was just quietly giving up on him 1 centimeter at a time. Like not fully gone, not fully there, just retreating. And he dressed like someone who genuinely had never once thought about what he was putting on his body. Cargo pants. The same rotation of 3 shirts. Work boots he wore everywhere, including to dinner, including to my friend Piper's birthday thing where everyone was actually dressed. Between us, no other woman was looking at Kurt. I knew that from the jump. That was kind of the appeal. I didn't need competition. I needed a house and a man who was going to be grateful I showed up. He was doing stuff, I'll give him that. He had this 1968 Chevy Impala in the garage he was always messing with. His dad's car, his dad's old tape still in there, the whole thing. He had a Subaru too. He had the dog, he had the house. He was building something. He just wasn't building it for anyone interesting. And then I showed up. And I could tell by the way he looked at me that he genuinely could not believe it. That's not me being cruel. That's just what I saw on his face. He laughed more around me. He stood up straighter. He started caring about what was in his fridge. I did that for him. The sex was fine for a while, and then it wasn't. By month 4, I was lying there thinking about other things while he finished, and feeling genuinely bad for him in a way that is its own specific kind of horrible. You know when someone is trying so hard and you can feel the trying and it makes it worse? That was us. I never said anything. I just started being busy more. Anyway, the moving in thing. I brought it up because it was obvious. I was paying rent on my apartment. He had a whole house. We'd been together almost a year. The math was right there. I told him I wasn't going to stress about bills and utilities. He makes good money. The mortgage was already his thing. I wasn't asking him to hand me cash. I just wanted to stop paying rent twice. I said that directly. I thought it was a normal conversation between 2 adults. He got this look, this flat, closed-off look he did whenever he was about to be difficult about something. He said he wasn't comfortable rushing it. I said we'd been together a year. What exactly are we rushing? He said he wanted to think about it. I said, fine, think about it, but I'm not sitting around waiting forever. He said he understood. He did not understand anything. Wait, I need to back up because the bills conversation happened before the actual breakup, and I want you to have the order right. He'd asked me, pretty casually, what I thought a fair split would look like if I moved in. And I told him, look, I'm not on the mortgage, so that's not my problem. Utilities, food, whatever, we'd figure it out as we go. He went quiet. He did this thing where he stored things. Didn't say anything, just got quiet, and you could feel him putting it somewhere. I didn't think much of it. I thought he was being weird about money the way some people are. What I didn't know was that he was already running some kind of audit on me in his head after that. The credit cards. The packages showing up at my place every other day. The Uber Eats. Look, I order food. A lot of people order food. That is not evidence of anything. But apparently to Kurt, it was a pattern. He also knew about the thing with my ex, which that guy absolutely had it coming, and I'm not getting into it, but Kurt knew, and he was adding it to his little mental list. Quietly. With that flat face. Just collecting. So he was already done before he told me he was done. That's what I still can't get over. He had decided. He had already made the decision and boxed up my stuff and just waited for me to come over so he could hand me the box. He called and said, come over, and I thought it was normal. I walked in and there was a box by the door. My dry shampoo, my phone charger, the hoodie I'd left there, my face wash. Just sitting there waiting for me like I was a package he was returning. I looked at the box and I looked at him and he sat me down and started talking. He was so calm. That is the thing that made me the most insane. He was completely calm. Flat voice, flat face, like he'd gone over it enough times in his head that it didn't feel like anything anymore. He said he'd been thinking. He said he didn't think we wanted the same things. He said the conversation about bills had made him realize we weren't on the same page about how a shared life would work. He said it like he was reading it. And I sat there and I felt something in me go completely sideways. I told him he was throwing away a year over one conversation about utilities. He said it wasn't just that conversation. I asked what else, and he started listing things, and I stopped being able to hear him because I was too angry to process words. I told him he was wasting my time. I told him he should have figured out what he wanted before he let me put a year into this. My voice was shaking, and I hated that it was shaking. I cried, not because I was sad, I was furious. Crying is just what my body does when I'm furious enough, and I couldn't stop it. I told him he was going to regret this. I laughed right after I said it because I needed him to think I didn't care, that it was a throwaway line, that I was already fine. I was not fine. I was the opposite of fine. He sat through all of it. 3 hours. I argued and I cried and I bargained and I told him I'd work on things, that I didn't mean the bills thing the way it came out, that we could talk about it differently. He just sat there, that face, just sitting there absorbing it all with nothing on his face. Not angry, not sad, not anything. And then I was mid-sentence. I was literally in the middle of saying something, and he stood up. He walked to the door. He opened it. He didn't say a word. He just stood there holding the door open and looked at me. I picked up my box. I walked out. He closed the door. I sat in my car in his driveway for a while. I wasn't crying anymore. I was past crying. I was in something colder than crying, and I just sat there in the dark with my box of stuff on the passenger seat, and I thought about how he had already packed that box before I got there. He had gone through his house and found my things and put them in a box and taped it and set it by the door before I even arrived. That's what I kept sitting with. A few days later, I drove back. I knocked for 10 minutes straight. His car was in the driveway. The lights were on inside. The dog was barking. He was in there. He just stood in there and let me knock and didn't come to the door. 10 minutes of knocking and nothing. I left a note in his mailbox. I put real things in that note. I told him I thought he was making a mistake. I told him I was sorry for how some things came out. I also told him he didn't get to just unilaterally end something without a real conversation, which is true. That is a true thing. That note took me 45 minutes. I found out later he threw it out without finishing it. 45 minutes and he threw it out. The not answering the door was what broke something in me. That was him deciding I wasn't worth a response. After a year. After everything I brought to that relationship. My time, my presence, being there, being the most interesting thing that had ever walked into his life. He couldn't open a door. So, the gas station. I don't know how to explain what I was thinking because I genuinely was not thinking. I was just moving. I got in my car and I drove, and I ended up at the gas station closest to his house, which I already know. And I went in and I bought a jerry can and I filled it up and I got back in my car and I drove to his house and I did it. The garage went up fast, faster than I expected. Both cars. The Impala with his dad's tape still inside. The Subaru. The whole garage just gone. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, and then I got back in my car and I drove down the street and I dumped the can in somebody's trash and I left. I was not thinking straight. 3 weeks of being ignored and a door that never opened. That's what did it. He made me not think straight. I want to be clear that I was not trying to burn his whole house down. The house was still there. The dog was in the backyard, furthest point from the garage, and the firefighters got him out before anything reached him. The dog was fine. I knew where the dog would be. The rest of the house had smoke damage, but it didn't burn. I was angry, not homicidal. There is a difference. The investigation took a few days. I thought it might look like an accident, electrical maybe, but they found the jerry can in the trash 5 houses down. A neighbor had seen a car. They pulled the gas station footage, and there I am. My face, my car, the jerry can, the timestamp, all of it lining up perfectly. I used the closest gas station, the one literally nearest to his house. I know exactly how that sounds, and I don't have a good answer for it. Police knocked on my door, and I opened it, and I said I didn't do it, before they said a single word about why they were there. I said I didn't do it before they told me what they were there for. I know how that sounds too. I was panicking. My mouth just went ahead of my brain. That happens to people. And then I looked past them, and I saw Kurt standing down the street. He had followed them over. He was just standing there on the sidewalk watching. And something in me, I don't know, I just switched. I looked at him and I said his name and I said, "You know it wasn't me. Please just tell them. You know me. Please." I said please to him out loud in front of police officers. I looked at him and asked him to help me, and he stood there for a second, and then he smiled. He actually smiled. Not a small thing, a real smile. Like he was watching something he'd been waiting for. They put the cuffs on me, and he was smiling, and I looked at him the whole time, and his face didn't change. That smile didn't move. I have thought about that smile every single day since. That was not a man who was relieved it was over. That was a man who was satisfied, who had waited for exactly this, who had been patient and quiet and flat-faced through all of it, and then got to stand on a sidewalk and watch the trial. They played the gas station footage, my car, my face, the jerry can, the timestamp. Crystal clear. They brought up the thing with my ex too, the prior report, which had nothing to do with a garage fire, but apparently was relevant to establishing something about me as a person. I shook my head through the whole thing. The whole proceeding felt like it had been decided before it started. Convicted. A few years. Restitution ordered on both cars, the garage, all of it. You want to know what restitution looks like when you already have maxed out credit cards? It looks like a number you are going to be paying for the rest of your life. His insurance covered everything. He got paid out. So I am paying restitution on 2 cars that the insurance company already replaced. He has his money and I have a number that does not get smaller. He moved into a rental down the street while the house got fixed. Then he moved back. Fixed garage, repaired rooms, dog back in the yard. Life just resumed. He went right back to his cargo pants and his rotating shirts and his books and his dog and his life. And the only difference is the garage is newer now and I'm not in it. I'm paying for those cars from inside a cell. I'm paying for them after. I'll be paying for them when I'm 35. He's got a check from the insurance company and a new garage, and he got to smile on a sidewalk. The note took 45 minutes. Real things. Actual feelings written down. He threw it out. That's the part I can't let go of. Not the cars, not the conviction, not the restitution number, the note. 45 minutes of me being real with him, and he just threw it out without finishing it. That's who Kurt was underneath all the quiet and the flat face and the house and the dog. He could just decide you didn't matter and then act like you never did. He got his house back. I got years and a debt I'll never clear, and he smiled about it.